Well, all right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube, Pastor Dowell here. I have what I think to be an extremely important message that I'd like to speak to us today about. And, of course, it concerns end times events. The way our mindset should be is, is separated, set apart Israelites. If you notice, I have made an extreme dynamic shift in this channel. I'm speaking more about things that's going to be of interest to us in order to prepare for we know the upcoming pending collapse, preparing for the kingdom, the great tribulation, and also give us a little bit of wisdom about some of the things that's going to transpire and take place here in this world, and what we should be doing as Israel. Well, it's obvious that everybody doesn't think alike. We can all sit and see the same thing, hear the same thing, and have total different responses. And the one reason why we have total different responses is because we all have had different experiences, and we've also chosen not to divest ourselves of a lot of things that we have amassed over the years concerning what we will call wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. I think the one thing that is really truly clear, and all of us will agree on, is that America is following the exact same historical path as ancient Rome. We're declined in morality. We're spiritually bankrupt. We are lewd, promiscuous, and there's literally no hope you can see in people's eyes. And a lot of people over the years have mocked, derided, and chided me for preaching and teaching certain ways that is clearly mentioned right there in the Word. And they didn't want to hear what I've had to say concerning the Word, concerning the truth, concerning what we should be doing in these days, time, and hour, because it's just simply not popular. It's not popular, and who wants to do it? Nobody wants to do it. I mean, after all, it costs too much, and it takes too much time, too much energy, too much effort, than for us to prepare. And the consequences that you don't prepare, and if you're waiting for somebody else to prepare for you, you deserve exactly what you get. But it's obvious that America is modern day Sodom and Gomorrah. It's a sodomite country. America's going to literally be destroyed by fire. Sodomy is running rampant in every way, shape, fashion, or form. People are literally confused about the state of their mind and the state of their being. And not only that, we have people who's supposed to be in the legislative branch of government, be it executive and judicial, who's supposed to be able to have a mindset to know what morality is, what's right from wrong. At every level, people are literally confused. There was a figure in the Bible by the name of Lot. And the book says in Luke 17:32, the Messiah, Jesus, said, remember Lot's wife. Remember Lot's wife. Now, in America, of course, y'all know the videos I do, anything that the book tells us to remember, we're not trying to remember. This new religion that's come up on the scene is definitely not trying to teach you to remember anything. As a matter of fact, if anything, it's trying to teach you to forget all the things that the Most High said remember. I mean, I thought, remember the Sabbath day. And so how do they remember it? They remember it by going to football games, basketball games, going to stock car races, Formula One, whatever it is. They remember it by going shopping, going to movies, out at the club, and all kind of other stuff. And then they take the day that is of the sun, and I don't want to get off on this tangent. Something that's diametrically opposed to the Most High, who he had never sanctioned, they take that day and prop it up as if it's the day that he's speaking about in Exodus chapter 20, verses 8 through 11. So we have this uncanny ability in this country to forget anything that Yah says remember. Now, what is the sole purpose of Jesus mentioning to us to remember Lot's wife? Remember, he did say, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. And we know what happened in the days of Noah. People were complacent. People were full of foolishness and frivolity. Their minds were sidetracked with the cares of this world, the cares of this life, and lust of other things. Noah came to prepare an ark for the people to have a refuge to be able to save themselves from the upcoming pending judgment that the Most High is going to bring on this earth. And now you think anytime you talk about God, meaning the Creator, Elohim, Almighty Yahweh himself, anytime you make mention of him in this society, they really truly don't believe that he exists. It's just, T.D. Jake says, Jesus Christ is a good business formula. And they have reduced him down to just this little petty life right here. And they have reduced, because there's not too much going on. It's like we're in the dark ages and it's not too much spiritual things going on, but yet and still we can see the decline that the book said would happen prior to the Great Tribulation, or prior to the destruction of not only what's coming on this world right here, but America. It's literally coming. But the one thing that the Father, the Most High, promised to us, his children, is that he's got a place prepared for us. He mentions it in many, many different places. In Isaiah 26:20 says, "Come, my people, and enter you." Want you to enter into the chambers and shut the doors about you and hide yourself, if it were for just a little moment, until the indignation be overpassed. The Most High is mad. He's extremely upset. And the one thing that Christianity and all these other false religions, false Christianity and all the rest of the people don't want people to understand about the reason why Yeshua said, Jesus said, vengeance is mine and I'm going to repay, is that his chosen people, the ones who are in Egypt, Mizraim, the descendants of those people, those melanated Israelites have been scattered throughout all the earth. The Most High has not forgotten what the nations have done to them. I mean, after all, he repaid a just recompense of reward on the Egyptians. He did it with the Babylonians. He did it with the Assyrians. He did it with the Romans and the Greeks. And guess what? And of course, we have the new revived Roman Empire we're in right now. But guess what? He's also going to do it on America and these European nations that have committed nothing but heinous atrocities against his people. That's what the vengeance is all about. That's what the Great Tribulation is all about. It's about Yah saving his people from their sins. And that includes the Goyim, the proselytes, anybody that repents and turns from their wicked way to come over here and have faith in Jesus, meaning that they not only just have a mental assent, but they have a lifestyle that backs up what they say that they believe, and they are serving him in the beauty of holiness right now. He's got a place prepared for us in the midst of great tribulation. We are the ones going to have great joy in great tribulation. The world is going to be tore up because Satan is going to literally run roughshod. According to Revelation 12, we have a place that's going to be prepared for us in the wilderness. But until that time, we had better get ready and prepare ourselves. When Yahshua says, you had better remember Lot's wife, we had better remember Lot's wife. We better remember it. Now, we are not out here, the book clearly states for us that if you use modern day translation, that you need to come out from among her, be separate. That means come out of these cities, come out of these population centers. That means get out, do your due diligence to make sure that you do exactly what he says. That's not popular. You're not going to hear that amongst the Hebrew Israelites. You're not going to hear it amongst Christianity. You're not going to hear it amongst these religious groups because everybody enjoys the convenience of the city. That is what Lot's problem was, and especially his wife. Because when the angel of the Most High God told him that I want you to get out of this city right here, get out of this city right here, and don't look back. She looked back. Why? Because her life, everything that pertaineth to her life, and all the things that had a hold upon her in this life was back there. And as a result, she turned into a pillar of salt. Now, listen, whenever you refuse to lose your life in this here and now, you're not going to gain it. You're not going to gain eternal life. But if you lose your life here and now for his sake and for his purpose, you will gain life. And people just don't get that. That means you've got to divest yourself of all. You've got to trust in him. Most people have never, ever even put the Most High's word to the test. I put his word to the literal test. When he said, I read in his word what he says to one, he says all. When he says, sell it all, I sold it all. And then what you can't sell, give. I gave. I went to utterly zero, impoverished myself, zero in my 20s. And now I have just like what Jesus promised. If you forsake your father and your mother, if you forsake all these things here in his life, he will give you houses, lands, wives, children, fathers, and mothers. And then at the end of all that, you will be able to inherit the kingdom. This is not popular because people are not interested in trying to obey him. I mean, when you look at Jeremiah 29 verse 5, when the Israelites were under Babylonian captivity, you know what the Father actually told him through the prophet Jeremiah? He says, build you houses and dwell in them. Isn't that amazing? Build you houses, dwell in them, plant gardens, and then eat the fruit of them. How many people want to do something like that? Huh? How many people want to do something like that? And remember, whenever Israel went into captivity, they went in as a nation and they came out as a nation. But you look at what's going on right now. Nobody is trying to do communities except a few people. Definitely Straitway is leading the charge in that. And I'll give you another example. When you go over and read Acts chapter 2, verse 40, it says, and with many other words did he testify and exhort, saying, save yourselves from this untoward generation. And then he goes on in verse 43, says, and fear came upon every soul, and many signs and wonders were done by the apostles. Then verse 44 in your New Testament is the kicker, to see if you're a real true believer, not a Christian, not a mental saint, not you just got Jesus on the edge of your lips, but you're not intending on obeying him. Not those of you who put your traditions above the commandments of Yah. You know, this crazy religion says that Christianity says you don't have to keep his commandments. We're not under that law, but they want you to keep their Christmas tradition, their Easter tradition, their Sunday tradition. Woo, what did Jesus say? Full well you reject the commandments of God that you may keep your own traditions. So guess what? In vain you worship me. That's what he said. In vain you worshiping me. And that's what's going on. A bunch of vanity worship that he ain't having, he ain't hearing. So anyway, in Acts chapter 2, verse 44, he brings the kicker in. And he says, and all that believed, how many of you say, how many of you believe? How many of you really, truly believe? He said, all that believe. Look what he says. They were scattered in Nebraska. They were in Chicago. They were in New Orleans or Detroit or New York or California. No, he didn't say that. He said, and all that believe were together. That's a physical coming together, not just a mental assent, because we're not together in one mind, one heart, one soul, one spirit. No, we're not. And all that believe were together and had all things common and sold their possessions and goods and parted them to all men as every man had need. Where's your preacher and teacher and pastor at this echoing those sentiments of the first century church, getting instructions directly from the apostles telling us exactly how to do it? Yeah. He goes on to say in chapter 4, verse 32, and the multitude of them that believed were of one heart, and of one soul, and neither of any of them had anything of aught which he possessed he called his own, but they had all things common. And with great power and great glory, you know what they did? They gave great witness to the resurrection of the Messiah. That's what they did. And because of that, the master had great favor or great grace upon all them. And then it says in Acts chapter 4, verse 34, look what it says. And neither was there any among them that lacked? For as many as were possessors of lands and houses sold them. So how many of you people own something? Have you sold it? That's New Testament. If you were possessors of hands and lands and houses, sell it. How many of y'all do that? How many of y'all done that, believers? See, your preacher, your lying pastor, your lying father and mother, they tell you, you don't have to do this. But why is it that the early church have to do it? Why is it that we have to obey all this other stuff in the Bible, but we don't have to obey this? Amazing, isn't it? Now, are you talking to somebody who has literally been there, done it, and got the footprint to prove it? And all that believe were together. What he said in Acts chapter 2. He said, but neither was there any among them that lacked, for as many as were possessors of houses or lands and houses, they bought the prices of the things that were sold, and they laid them down at the apostles' feet, and distribution was made unto every man according as he had need. People too selfish to do something like that today. So you tell me, if you're not ready to forsake your life right now and lose it, how you think you're going to go into his kingdom? How you think he's going to all of a sudden transform you in a moment of a twinkling of an eye at the last trump and bring you into his kingdom when you're soaked and immersed with nothing but defilement, rubbing elbows and hobnobbing with the people out there in this world? He ain't going to do it. I don't care how much utopia of a peace that you try to put into your mind. That doesn't mean because you misapply his word, you have misapplications, you put your hand to the plow and then you look back. That doesn't mean you're going into the kingdom. Listen, America is on a serious decline. Even though I know we've done all this over these years to prepare, I know that our money is not going to save us. Salvation, Yeshua is going to save us. I know that this place is a refuge from the population centers, because I can only imagine when we're in a world without rule of law, what's going to take place out there in this city, in that country, in the city, those high rises, when there's no police force to protect anyone and everybody is going stark raving mad. You know, we live so far outside of the city limits, ain't nobody gonna drive and think about coming out here, but if they did, we have a different mindset. Because I'm sure you heard at the beginning of this video, shots fired, because some brothers are out there training. We have a different mindset, and we have prepared ourselves to trust him. How do you know we trust him? Because we are obedient to what he says do. I know you love your 3-bedroom house. I know you love it. I know you love your picket fence, your dog, and your next door neighbors that's only 50 or 100 feet away from you. But according to the word, the Most High said, come on out. The book says in 2 Corinthians, starting in 6th chapter, verse 14, it says, be not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. So if you live in them cities, what are you doing? You're unequally yoked together with unbelievers, because all that's in those cities is unbelievers. I don't care if they say they believe Jesus. But if they're not obeying him, they're unbelievers. Don't let people deceive you with good words and fair speeches. Anyway, for what fellowship have righteousness with unrighteousness, and what communion have light with darkness? And what concord have the Messiah with Belial? And what part he that believeth have with an infidel? And what agreement the temple of Yeshua, the temple of Jesus, the temple of Yah have with idols? We are the temple of the true and living Yah. And he said he would dwell in us. And I want to know, you being the temple, what kind of worship place are you presenting him? So since knowing all this, he says in 2 Corinthians 6:17, wherefore, come out of her. Come out from among them, my people. That's what he says. Come out from among them, my people, and be you separate. Watch this one. This one is thus saith the Lord. This ain't Apostle Paul. He's telling us to come out and be separate from the people of this world. I know it's unpopular. I know your line comfortable preacher and teacher, so-called pastors, they ain't gonna do this. They too comfortable. Listen. If you try to even attempt this, when I was doing this in the 90s, I got called everything under the sun: a crackpot, a kook, a fanatic. But that was Satan using all the people that were submitted to him at his will, trying to deter me from following the course. And now my very lifestyle and the lifestyle of these other 12 or 14 communities we got, other 10 homesteads, is nothing but a living rebuke to this world to show you that a people can be obedient. A small remnant of people literally can be obedient to the Most High Yah. And you can see the hand of Jesus upon us, even in his daytime and hour. It's a blessing. Excuse me. And thus saith the Lord says, wherefore come out from among you and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. Then he says, and I will be a father unto you, and you shall be my sons and my daughters, saith Yahweh, Yahshua Almighty. You know, the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. That's what he says. But I don't expect your preachers to do this, because they're not about to preach anything that they're not going to do. Because if they preach it, and they'll be a castaway. Because if they're not doing it, and they say, well, we should be doing this, but there go to deception. There's the hook in the jaw right there. That's what you want to hear. Well, anyway, I can tell you one thing. Those of us who have come aside, and we are sitting here because of the obedience to the word of Yah, and we're hiding ourselves while we're still out in the public. We're doing this just for a little moment until the indignation be overpassed, because it is coming. And you as believers, so-called believers, I don't understand this mental sense stuff where you can mentally agree and say you believe, but you have no action, no footprint. Faith without works is dead. If a man says that he has faith and have not works, can faith save him? No, it can't. Faith is definitely without works is dead. Work out your salvation with fear and with trembling. I tell you, I don't know how long that the Most High Yah is going to continue to keep suffering us to bring messages forth like this to a rebellious and gainsaying people that don't even have any intentions whatsoever at all to obey Yah. None whatsoever at all. But I do know this. Every single time I make a video like this, a small remnant hears, they move with fear, and they start making moves. That's what it's all about. Because if Yah only saved 8 people in Noah's days, why are y'all under this strong delusion believing that he's going to be saving millions upon billions of people? That ain't what Jude said. Jude said that when the Most High comes, he's coming with 10,000s of his saints. Thousands is not millions. Woo, wait, yeah. 8 was grace. 8 was favor back then. Man, don't you deceive yourself, and don't you allow these other preachers to deceive you. It's not going to go down the way that they've been teaching you. It's not. You better come out from these lying preachers who lull you to sleep and make you feel comfortable and at ease in this wicked and perverse world. I'm telling you. Lot lived amongst the wicked, and because Abraham made a plea for him, the Most High sent the angels of the Most High Yah to deliver him. And what's even crazy about that is that the people were so perverse in their thought pattern and so wicked sexually that they even try to sodomize angels. Even in their blindness, they still ran hard after their lust. Tell your preacher or teacher, somebody, to find some holes with this. Tell them to find the scriptures where you don't have to obey this. You don't have to do this. See what kind of answers you're going to get. I know most of you people waiting for ships to come. They ain't coming for you if you ain't been obedient. Well, anyway, I hope it says something to stimulate thought. But attach yourself to Yah's will and detach yourself from this world so that the Most High Yah can bless you, and you. You're the truth and true straightway. You have a blessed wicked end weekend. King coming.